Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Colonel Frank Colley. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We warmly welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, flowers of the forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Lindsay Thomas Adams. Lindsay Adams was born in 1895, the youngest of three sons born to Thomas and Bessie Adams of Heidelberg, Victoria. His mother died soon after his birth, and his father remarried a few years later. Little is known of Lindsay's early life, other than that, after completing his basic schooling at Peach College, he intended to study law at Melbourne University. Lindsay's plans for further study were interrupted by the outbreak of war in August 1914. He and his older brother Reg enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force together in early March 1915 and were posted to the 6th Field Ambulance. They left Australia for active service overseas on board the troop ship Ajana the following June. The Adams brothers were first sent to Egypt, where they continued training in the desert for some time. Several weeks after arriving, they were both seconded to the staff of the 2nd Australian Division and prepared to leave for Gallipoli. On the 29th of August 1915, the 6th Brigade and members of the 2nd Division staff, including Lindsay and Reg Adams, boarded the troop ship Southland, bound for the island of Lemnos. 3 days later, they were 40 miles from the island, which would have been the staging point for their departure to Gallipoli. At 9:45 a.m. on the 2nd of September 1915, a torpedo from an enemy submarine struck the Southland, with the second only narrowly missing it. Some men were killed by the torpedo blast, but most were on decks preparing for morning drill. As a result, although the ship began to sink, good order was maintained and the men waited patiently for the boats to be launched. Lindsay Adams' brother, Reg, wrote home shortly after he was rescued, recalling, "I had just packed my kit bag and saw that all the special little personal articles were right in my jacket when crash, and the deck I was on was filled with smoke and debris and broken pieces of wood. I knew almost immediately that we were the victims of a torpedo, so I began to think of getting on deck." Reg managed to get to deck and to get a life jacket, and his next thought was to look for his brother. He said he went to look out for Lynn, who had gone on deck some time before the torpedo struck us. It was, as you may guess, like looking for a needle in a haystack. I went on a little further and was delighted to see Lynn in a boat with a lifebelt on, so my mind was easy. As to what followed, my clearest recollections are that the boat he was in was lowered away safely and pushed off from the disabled troop ship. I was quite at ease now, for I felt sure he was safe. Adams remained on the sinking vessel for another 45 minutes before getting into a lifeboat and getting away. After getting to a rescue ship, he wrote, "I expected Lynn to come on the hospital boat, as it, afterwards, went in the direction in which, so far as I could judge, the boat I saw him in went." The hospital boat turned up the next morning, but Lynn was not there, and so far as I've been able to find out, nothing at all about him. Nobody knows anything, but as there are a few to come, I hope for the best, though I'm a bit anxious as several days have elapsed and I've done all I could to to find out something. Reg Adams would not see his brother again. Although he was sure he had seen him in a lifeboat, other witnesses later saw Lindsay struggling in the water and that he drowned before he could be rescued. The body of Private Lindsay Adams was never recovered, and today he is commemorated on the Hellers Memorial at the southern end of the Gallipoli Peninsula. He was 19 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Lindsay Thomas Adams, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Gallipoli or in the low scrub, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director and staff, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.